Meghan is hardly innocent. She's down in the dirt with me, whether she likes it or not.
Stripping Meghan and Andrew of their titles was the right course. I have full confidence in Catherine and William. Their judgment is sound, their loyalty unquestioned.
Deep inside the misty corridors of a secluded Windsor mansion, secrets were ready to explode like dynamite. On a fog-soaked October night in 2025, the air was thick and eerie, every breath heavy with tension and truth waiting to claw its way out. The silence in that grand room felt like it could crush bones. Former Prince Andrew sat across from a close confidant, and this wasn't just a quiet chat. It was Judgment Day. Only a few days earlier, King Charles had stripped him of every royal title he had left, leaving Andrew exposed, humiliated, and furious. His eyes carried that mix of anger and exhaustion, the kind that comes when a man's been dethroned but still refuses to admit defeat. He leaned in, voice low but burning through the cold air. "Meghan is hardly innocent," he hissed, his eyes flashing. "She's down in the dirt with me, whether she likes it or not." The words slammed into the room like lightning. No one moved. Even the wind outside seemed to howl in shock, shaking the trees as if nature itself was reacting to his confession. This wasn't just a family fight. This was a crack splitting through the royal foundation itself, a dangerous fracture that could pull powerful names from London to Los Angeles right into its chaos. Whispers started spreading fast, talk of hidden alliances, secret payoffs, and favors traded behind velvet curtains. With Andrew's fall complete, the walls of Buckingham Palace began to tremble under the weight of scandal. How deep did the secrets go? Who else was caught in the mess? The palace, once a fortress of silence and control, was now in the eye of its own storm. No secret can stay buried forever, especially when the cracks reach all the way to the crown. Andrew's downfall wasn't some overnight disaster. It had been a long, painful slide that the world watched unfold step by step. Once the Queen's favorite son and a proud naval hero, he was now haunted by the shadow of his past connections, especially the one that would destroy everything: Jeffrey Epstein. When court documents became public, the world saw flashes of a lifestyle dripping in luxury, parties on private islands, flights on private jets, and friendships that would later turn into poison. Andrew never admitted to any crime, always standing by his denials. But the more he spoke, the shakier his story sounded. Then came 2022, when he quietly settled a civil case with Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's accusers, for an alleged £12 million. The deal kept him out of a courtroom, but it cost him dearly: his pride, his honor, and his place in the royal spotlight. No matter how many statements came from the palace, the stain refused to fade. When Charles ascended the throne that same year, he tried to be merciful. At first, Andrew still had a few royal benefits, but as public outrage grew and more details about Epstein's dark world emerged, Charles's patience ran out. By October 2025, he had no choice but to act, and the move hit harder than anyone expected. Buckingham Palace dropped a statement so cold it could freeze glass. It was short, sharp, and final. Andrew would lose everything: every title, every honor, every privilege gone in one royal swipe. From that day forward, he'd no longer be His Royal Highness, just Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Evicted from his grand estate and stripped of his security detail, he retreated into a much smaller home, a fallen royal, living under the harsh glare of the world's spotlight. But the story didn't stop there. Not even close. The sting of humiliation dug deep into Andrew's pride, twisting into raw bitterness he couldn't keep bottled up anymore. During that explosive sit-down, something inside him snapped. His calm shattered, and the anger came pouring out like a flood. When he threw Meghan's name into the mix, it wasn't just random shade. It came from long-standing grudges, quiet rumors, and years of royal tension that had been simmering behind closed doors. As the fog outside thickened, the pressure in that room was suffocating. What did he really mean when he said she was down in the dirt? That meeting wasn't some casual chat. It was set up through hidden channels, handled by a journalist known for protecting stories so risky they could ruin careers. This was supposed to be Andrew's comeback moment, his chance to reclaim a bit of his reputation, or at least tell his version of events before the world wrote him off completely. But the second Epstein's name came up, the air shifted. Andrew's tone grew sharp. His words clipped, almost offensive. He started describing high-end parties, blurred moral lines, and elite circles that overlapped in ways that sounded downright disturbing. It wasn't just me, he snapped, frustration dripping from every word. There were others who knew, who moved in those same rooms. And then came the bombshell, the claim that would send tabloids into overdrive. Sources close to the conversation said Andrew hinted that before Meghan married Prince Harry in 2018, she had somehow crossed paths with Epstein through entertainment world connections. He even suggested there could be old emails or invites tying her name to private gatherings or social circles connected to Epstein's orbit. The room went still. It was the kind of statement that could blow open another royal firestorm. But here's the thing. None of this was ever confirmed. Palace insiders quickly dismissed it as jealousy talking, fueled by years of resentment. Some said Andrew was furious seeing Harry and Meghan thrive after walking away from royal duties in 2020. While he was drowning in scandal, they were building a media empire across the Atlantic, launching Archewell, signing multi-million-dollar deals, and turning themselves into global icons. Still, Andrew's words had cracked open a door that the palace would never fully shut again. Those close to him said he saw something of himself in Meghan's story. Two outsiders, rejected by the same institution that once embraced them. She's painted as the victim, he muttered coldly, bitterness lacing every syllable. But we've both been cast out. When the journalist pressed for more, Andrew stopped mid-sentence, giving a sly smirk, like he knew more but wasn't ready to spill it yet. Seconds later, the iron gates of Windsor creaked open, and the reporter vanished into the fog, carrying a secret that would soon set off a media explosion. The leak came almost immediately. Whispers turned to headlines, headlines became chaos, and soon, every major outlet was chasing the same burning question. Why was Meghan's name dragged into Andrew's scandal? Was there any truth behind his claim? Or was it pure revenge dressed up as revelation? To untangle it, you had to rewind. Back to the glimmering days before the royal wedding, when Meghan Markle was still carving out her path in Hollywood. Born August 4th, 1981, in Los Angeles, Meghan came from a middle-class background that taught her grit early on. Her father, Thomas Markle, worked long hours as a lighting director for TV shows, while her mother, Doria Ragland, balanced yoga classes with social work. Meghan grew up grounded but ambitious, her eyes set on something far bigger than the California suburbs. At Immaculate Heart High School, she polished her acting skills and threw herself into charity work, the very traits that would later define her public persona. In her 20s, Meghan was grinding hard in the cutthroat world of Hollywood, racing from one audition to the next, hustling through endless networking events, doing whatever it took to get noticed. By 2011, her breakout role on Suits finally flipped the script. She was polished, magnetic, and clearly on her way up. But fame always comes with shadows, and the rumor mill never stopped spinning. Between 2010 and 2013, a few speculative stories popped up. Whispers of indirect connections to Jeffrey Epstein's glitzy social world. Epstein, infamous for surrounding himself with powerful elites, hosted parties dripping in luxury and crawling with celebrity faces. Some tabloids even suggested Meghan might have shown up at one or two of those exclusive gatherings through mutual acquaintances, though not a shred of proof ever surfaced. Still, those rumors clone on like smoke, faint, but impossible to erase completely. Meanwhile, Andrew's friendship with Epstein was turning into something much darker. The photos, the visits, the private meetings, all of it built a trail that would later shatter his reputation for good. Two completely different worlds. Hollywood's glamour and royal prestige suddenly looked more connected than anyone wanted to admit. When Meghan met Prince Harry in 2016, her every move became front-page material. Every smile, every old friendship, every whispered story was picked apart by tabloids searching for scandal. Those past rumors tried to resurface but fizzled out fast. There was never any real evidence, and the public eventually moved on. Yet now, years later, Andrew's bitter comments had dragged those old whispers back into the open, and the palace could already feel the heat rising. Was Andrew just jealous of Meghan's global reach, her second-act success story? Or was he hinting at secrets buried deep within royal archives? secrets the family prayed would never see daylight. Inside Buckingham Palace, the air was thick with unease. King Charles, already weakened from ongoing cancer treatment since 2024, suddenly found himself in the middle of another royal crisis. His decision to strip Andrew of his titles had been harsh but necessary, a last-ditch effort to save what little integrity the monarchy had left. Yet behind closed doors, the king was torn apart by guilt. Andrew wasn't just a fallen royal, he was still his brother, and the betrayal cut deep. Then came the quiet murmurs that made the palace walls tremble. Talk that Charles wanted to go even further. Insiders whispered that he planned a full-scale royal cleanup, a mission to purify the crown once and for all. Meghan and Andrew had already lost their titles between 2019 and 2021, caught in the fallout of the Epstein storm. But this new move wasn't just about discipline, it was about survival. For Andrew, it meant complete erasure. Every royal patronage, every privilege gone, leaving him a shadow of the prince he once was. For Meghan and Harry, the blow came through the Megxit deal, their decision to walk away from the royal front lines, stepping down as senior members and giving up their HRH titles for freedom and peace. To King Charles, this wasn't cruelty, it was strategy. Stripping Meghan and Andrew was the right move, he reportedly told aides. I have full confidence in Catherine and William. Their judgment is sound, their loyalty unquestionable. Those words sent a clear message through the palace halls. The old guard was out, and the future now rested in the hands of the next generation. But why tie Meghan and Andrew together so deliberately? Many insiders say it was no accident. It was a tactical move, a way to study the throne during chaos. William, ever the disciplined heir, had long warned that Andrew's scandals were poisoning the royal brand. Calm but firm, Catherine stood right beside him, playing her role with quiet strength, always aware of how much was at stake. Together, the Prince and Princess of Wales became the monarchy's new face, polished, focused, and determined to rebuild trust. Their work on mental health, early education, and environmental causes wasn't just good PR. It was the royal family's lifeline to the modern world. Charles's bold statement didn't just steady the throne, it completely reshaped the royal power dynamic. In an instant, William and Catherine became the true force driving palace decisions, from public strategy to behind-the-scenes reforms. The days after Andrew's explosive interview were tense, every headline threatening to crack the family's fragile image. At Balmoral, the king summoned his heirs for a crisis meeting. When the meeting ended, the three stepped onto the castle's fog-covered balcony, looking out over the wind-swept highlands, a quiet moment that felt like history shifting in real time. It was the image of power passing from the old guard to the next generation. But thousands of miles away, under Montecito's golden sun, Harry and Meghan were glued to the news, watching their names get pulled back into the storm once again. Would Andrew's bitter words drag them into another royal firestorm or ignite a scandal of their own? Meghan wasn't about to let it spiral. Within hours, her spokesperson fired back hard, calling Andrew's remarks baseless and desperate. The denial was loud and clear, but the ghost of her royal past refused to stay buried. Meghan's life after royalty had been a high-speed reinvention, a mix of ambition, advocacy, and business brilliance. Between the multi-million-dollar Netflix contracts, her Spotify and podcast ventures, and the launch of her American Riviera Orchard brand, she had crafted a California empire that blended luxury with purpose. Still, no matter how far she ran from palace corridors, echoes of that world seemed to chase her down. Peeling back the layers of her story reveals a woman who earned every step of her success. After graduating from Northwestern University with dual degrees in theater and international studies, she started from the bottom, taking gigs wherever she could, even working as a briefcase model on Deal or No Deal. She faced rejection, competition, and endless grind, but she refused to quit until she landed her breakout role on Suits. Her rise wasn't a miracle, it was built on hustle, focus, and unshakable drive. Through it all, one thing stayed consistent: Meghan's passion for helping others. Long before she ever carried a royal title, she worked with groups like the UN and World Vision, lending her voice to global causes that actually mattered. The confident, outspoken woman the world knows today didn't appear overnight. She was forged through years of hard work, compassion, and resilience. But now, with her name tangled once again in royal controversy, even her trademark composure was being tested like never before. Meghan's activism wasn't a rebrand. It was who she'd always been. But when she married Prince Harry in 2018, her world flipped upside down overnight. The global spotlight hit with full force. And suddenly, every detail of her past was under the microscope. In 2021, her name even surfaced briefly in a few Epstein-related legal documents, not as an accused figure, but listed as a potential witness due to her Hollywood and philanthropic connections. Sources later revealed that Epstein's legal team had inquired about jurisdiction and possible knowledge, but nothing came of it. There was no follow-up, no evidence, and no official involvement. Still, the whispers refused to die down. And when Andrew let his shocking comments slip during that secret meeting, those long dormant rumors reignited like gasoline on fire. He hinted at a supposed shared event or brief introduction between Meghan and Epstein, but without proof, it remained nothing more than wild speculation. That didn't stop the tabloids from going berserk. Within hours, Meghan's face was splashed across international front pages once again, headlines screaming with half-truths and twisted theories. It didn't matter that her team had denied it. The damage was already done. And as the palace scrambled to contain the chaos, one question echoed across both sides of the Atlantic. Just how far would Andrew's downfall drag everyone else with him? Through all the noise, Meghan kept her focus locked on what truly mattered: her family. She and Harry poured their energy into raising Archie and Lilibet, protecting their quiet California haven from the chaos warring across the Atlantic. Carrie, ever the fierce protector, stood by her side every step of the way. He wasn't about to let her face the storm alone, but the silence from Buckingham Palace spoke volumes. Not a single official word. Was King Charles drawing yet another line in the royal sand? Then, in November 2025, came the shocker, a rare cryptic address from the king that flipped the royal narrative on its head. With calm precision, he spoke of difficult choices made for the family's future, a phrase so carefully chosen it sent the press into a frenzy. Insiders claim that behind closed doors, Charles had been meeting with senior advisors, weighing one question heavier than all others: should Harry and Meghan lose their remaining titles? After his brutal handling of Andrew, the idea didn't sound impossible. It sounded imminent. That same speech carried another quiet thunderclap: open praise for William and Catherine. Charles called them the bedrock of the monarchy, a crystal-clear signal that real power was shifting their way. And the weeks that followed, the Prince and Princess of Wales quietly assumed sweeping authority, controlling royal engagements, budget decisions, and even internal policy. William's Earthshot Prize suddenly received a major royal funding boost, while Catherine's Shaping Us campaign spread to global platforms, backed by powerful sponsors. It was no coincidence. The king was making his successor's foundation unshakable. What unfolded next was a quiet but monumental shift. The monarchy was tightening its circle, modernizing its image, and letting the outer royals fade quietly from the frame. Andrew, now completely cut off and living in near isolation, was said to be drowning in regret. Sources whispered that he realized too late his tell-all interview had unleashed chaos far beyond what he ever intended. But remorse couldn't stop what was already in motion. The recording had leaked to select outlets, and within days, headlines were on fire again. The public was torn in two. Some dismissed Andrew's claims as nothing more than the venom of a bitter man desperate for relevance, while others believed he might have dropped hints of hidden royal truths. Either way, the damage was done. Support for the extended royals was crumbling fast, and that collapse only strengthened King Charles's strategy. The monarchy was being rebuilt around an unshakable trio: Charles, William, and Catherine, the new royal core. Meanwhile, the Epstein angle still cast its shadow, but digging deeper produced nothing concrete, only a maze of elite social overlaps and vague connections. Epstein's infamous Black Book had hundreds of recognizable names, but Meghan's wasn't there. Still, her Hollywood background meant she'd brushed shoulders with many of the same high society figures: PR agents, philanthropists, and producers who also crossed paths with Epstein's world. That alone kept her name hovering near the story, unfairly. but relentlessly. As for Andrew, his own history spoke for itself. Multiple visits to Epstein's private island, his Manhattan townhouse, and those infamous parties that blurred the line between power and scandal. It wasn't hard to imagine how their worlds could have intersected, even briefly. Reports later pointed to a 2013 New York charity gala as a potential overlap, an extravagant evening hosted by a mutual acquaintance known for attracting politicians, actors, and royals alike. At that time, Meghan was riding the momentum of her Suits fame, glowing with confidence, networking her way through Hollywood's upper circles. Andrew, meanwhile, floated through those same glittering rooms, still basking in his royal title's privilege. He later claimed that certain conversations at those gatherings hinted at shared awareness of Epstein's circle. Vague words that raised eyebrows but convinced almost no one. If anything, his uncertainty only deepened the public's suspicion that this was less about truth and more about desperation. By then, the monarchy's priorities had shifted completely, and the message was loud and clear. Only those loyal to the crown's core would survive the new royal era. Meghan didn't stay silent. She hit back hard and fast. Her team reminded the world exactly who she was, a woman with a long track record of advocacy, fighting for women's rights, equality, and real change. They highlighted her humanitarian work, her campaigns against exploitation, and the powerful impact of her early activism that inspired thousands. Her story wasn't one of scandal, it was one of grit, growth, and integrity. But even with her truth out in the open, Andrew's reckless outburst had already left its mark. Once again, Meghan found herself under the world's magnifying glass, every past move being reanalyzed, every motive questioned. Harry wasted no time either, firing back and calling the accusations defamatory nonsense. His tone was sharp, protective, and fed up. Their Netflix documentary had already exposed deep royal tensions, but this latest twist sent everything spiraling toward a breaking point. While the Sussexes tried to hold their ground with quiet dignity, King Charles was busy behind the scenes, meeting discreetly with Parliament members, fine-tuning new royal reform designed to tighten the monarchy's inner workings. By late 2025, the power lines inside the palace were crystal clear. William and Catherine weren't just waiting in the wings anymore, they were leading from the front. Together, they took charge of modernizing centuries-old systems, pushing for transparency and accountability that previous generations had only whispered about. Catherine, drawing from her own struggles with relentless tabloid pressure, made mental health a top priority, not just for the public, but for royal staff constantly under scrutiny. William doubled down on his environmental crusade, expanding global conservation projects and carrying forward his father's legacy with fresh energy. Their influence wasn't loud or forceful, it was quiet, measured, and absolutely undeniable. Meanwhile, Andrew faded deeper into obscurity. His grand titles gone, his reputation shattered, his days spent in a modest home under constant watch. His once lofty name now only surfaced in whispers and scandal recaps. Yet, even as he disappeared from public life, Meghan's presence lingered over the royal narrative like a haunting echo. Would she launch legal action and fight fire with fire, or let the rumors die on their own? Every week brought something new, a leaked message, a dramatic headline, a new exclusive that peeled back yet another layer of the monarchy's carefully polished image. Then came the breaking point, an emergency family summit at Sandringham in early November 2025. The atmosphere was tense, the stakes sky high. Around the long polished table sat William, Catherine, and a select circle of the king's most trusted aides. Charles, looking frail but composed, spoke with the authority of a man determined to protect his legacy. When scrutiny peaked, he said gravely, "We had no choice but to act." He laid it all out, how, at the height of the Epstein fallout, Andrew had been distanced immediately, and how the terms of Harry and Meghan's Megxit were enforced with precision, keeping their royal titles suspended indefinitely. These moves, Charles explained, were to preserve the heart of the monarchy. His tone carried both weight and weariness, a leader trying to hold the family together while the world picked it apart. By the time the meeting ended, Charles had once again praised William and Catherine, calling them the monarchy's unshakable foundation. He confirmed their expanded authority over royal operations, from strategic decisions to public messaging. It was the clearest signal yet. Power had officially transitioned from Charles's cautious hands to his son's confident grasp. Publicly, the palace denied any ongoing connection between Meghan and Andrew, but behind the scenes, insiders said the tension had forced major internal shakeups. With Charles's health visibly declining, the urgency to stabilize the monarchy grew stronger every day. The world was watching, and every royal move, every speech, every silence mattered. Tabloids went wild, splashing dramatic headlines across every front page. Royal betrayal exposed. Secrets of the crown unraveled. Social media lit up instantly. Meghan supporters called the coverage misogynistic and unfair, blasting the press for recycling old narratives, while critics of Andrew said his downfall was long overdue. Hashtags exploded, think pieces flooded feeds, and everyone, from royal watchers to casual readers, was caught in the debate over the tangled web of royalty, power, and Hollywood fame. For all the noise and non-stop headlines, William and Catherine stood firm, calm, composed, and completely unshaken. Every public appearance showed their growing dominance, not through loud declarations but quiet power, bigger budgets, expanded staff, and a polished global vision that screamed confidence. Catherine's influence especially was skyrocketing. Born Catherine Middleton on January 9, 1982, in Reading, she had always carried a rare kind of quiet strength. From her days at St. Andrews University, where fate crossed her path with Prince William, to her rise as one of the world's most admired public figures, her journey was a masterclass in patience and control. Graceful under pressure, she had learned how to balance the heavy weight of royal duty with motherhood, while championing causes that hit close to home, especially children's mental health and early education. Now, standing shoulder to shoulder with William as his equal in every sense, Catherine wasn't just a future queen. She had become the beating heart of a redefined monarchy. Calm power had replaced stiff tradition. Quiet strategy had replaced royal spectacle. And at the center of it all, Catherine's steady influence gave the royal family something it had nearly lost: credibility. With King Charles's full blessing, her mark on the monarchy became unmistakable. She expanded nationwide programs around early years development and pushed hard for better family support systems, reshaping how the institution connected with ordinary citizens. William, meanwhile, went full force on his mission to modernize, tackling homelessness through his Homewards initiative and taking his environmental projects global with new alliances and high-profile summits. Together, the couple turned chaos into control, transforming scandal into momentum and rebuilding the monarchy's reputation from the ashes. But across the Atlantic, Meghan's story was unfolding on a very different track. Her biography, filled with achievements, from her Hollywood success to her humanitarian work, became a lightning rod for debate about fairness, race, and double standards. British tabloids tore into her relentlessly, while in America, her loyal fan base defended her with equal passion. The divide between royal traditionalists and Meghan supporters had never felt wider. The Sussexes kept working through it all, pushing their Archewell Foundation projects and continuing to champion the Invictus Games, Harry's life mission to honor and uplift wounded veterans. Yet the scrutiny was relentless, and the tension between the palace and California grew thicker by the week. Insiders whispered that King Charles's private stance had hardened. By late 2025, reconciliation wasn't even up for discussion. Public opinion showed just how fractured the royal image had become. Polls revealed that nearly 60% of Britons supported Andrew losing his titles, but only 40% believed Meghan had any real link to his scandals. Outside Buckingham Palace, protesters held banners reading, "No more secrets," demanding full transparency from the institution that prided itself on silence. Inside, William and Catherine stayed laser-focused, hosting discreet reform meetings and projecting composure while the world outside boiled with speculation. Meanwhile, Andrew vanished deeper into isolation, consumed by regret and stripped of purpose, a stark reminder of what royal disgrace truly looked like. Meghan, on the other hand, did what she always did best. She turned adversity into opportunity. She launched bold new campaigns centered on media literacy and fair reporting, calling out the same tabloid culture that once tried to destroy her. Her unapologetic confidence resonated deeply with younger audiences worldwide, who saw her not as a victim, but as a symbol of resilience and self-determination. Back at the palace, King Charles's health showed signs of stabilizing, giving him a renewed focus on what mattered most: his legacy and the monarchy's transition into a new era. His vision meant deeper reforms, clearer boundaries, and yes, possibly more title reshuffles. Biographers began revisiting Andrew's naval past and his time as the UK's trade envoy, but his connection to Epstein still overshadowed everything he'd ever achieved. Meghan's record, however, told a different story. Her UN speeches, charity missions, and relentless advocacy for equality stood as undeniable proof of her strength. She wasn't perfect, but she was powerful, a complex woman caught in a royal storm, yet still standing tall while the rest of the institution scrambled to survive. By the final stretch of 2025, one truth hit harder than ever. The monarchy's fragility had been fully exposed. A system that had weathered centuries of scandal, war, and social change now faced its biggest threat yet: the ruthless glare of the digital age. Every tweet, every leak, every grainy photo had the power to shake its foundation. King Charles's daring choices, stripping titles, elevating William and Catherine, and narrowing the royal circle, weren't acts of punishment. They were survival tactics. Every decision was calculated to protect the institution's core in a time when one viral headline could undo generations of royal image building. Then came the next shockwave: unsealed Epstein files that sent reporters into a frenzy. The late 2025 news cycle was dominated by explosive revelations, desperate emails from Andrew denying accusations, and never-before-seen photos placing him uncomfortably close to major figures tied to the scandal. On October 30th, 2025, Buckingham Palace made it official. Andrew's royal demotion was absolute. He was formally evicted from royal property, stripped of his remaining privileges, and left without his taxpayer-funded security team. The public reaction was instant and fierce. Lawmakers praised Charles's decision as the first act of true accountability in royal history, while polls showed nearly 90% of Britons applauding what they called the necessary purge to safeguard the monarchy's integrity. It was a brutal reset, but one the people fully supported. Meanwhile, Meghan's name continued to orbit the chaos, thanks to Andrew's earlier comments. Though no evidence had ever tied her to the Epstein scandal, insiders quietly admitted that her gradual exclusion. The palace's plan was clear: strip away distractions, tighten the family focus, and rebuild trust from the inside out. When the dust finally began to settle, William and Catherine stood firmly at the center, not as survivors of scandal, but as the architects of a royal rebirth. Backed by Charles's full confidence, they began steering the monarchy with a modern touch, approving royal warrants, driving digital transformation projects, and reinventing old traditions for a new generation. Their version of royalty wasn't about mystery anymore. It was about connection, transparency, and controlled evolution. But behind all the polished press releases and flawless appearances, life inside the palace walls remained deeply personal and fragile. King Charles was still fighting his cancer battle with quiet strength, while Catherine herself had been privately recovering from her own health challenges. Those struggles brought a new depth to their leadership, a sense of empathy and realism that the monarchy had long been accused of lacking. Together, they turned their attention to preparing young Prince George for the destiny waiting ahead, determined to give him something no heir had ever truly known: a balanced, grounded childhood, away from the harshest spotlight. By December 2025, the monarchy staged its most symbolic comeback yet. William and Catherine's return to the red carpet at the Royal Variety performance, their first major appearance in 2 years, instantly dominated headlines. Dressed in coordinated velvet ensembles, the couple radiated calm power as cheers erupted across the theater. Cameras flashed, applause thundered. It wasn't just another royal event, it was a declaration, a message to the world that the monarchy, battered but unbroken, had found its rhythm again. Under their leadership, the royal machine transformed itself into something leaner, sharper, and far more strategic. The so-called slimmed-down monarchy became official policy, focusing resources and attention on the working royals who represented stability. There was even talk of drawing in trusted younger relatives like Lady Louise Windsor to share the growing workload. Every move felt deliberate, part of a grand plan to reshape an ancient institution for a new era of relentless transparency and social media warfare. Yet, even as the new royal age took form, one ghost refused to fade: Andrew's explosive confession. Whether driven by jealousy, resentment, or fragments of truth, his words had forced the palace to confront everything it had avoided for years. His claims linking Meghan to Epstein's world still echoed through tabloids and online threads, keeping gossip alive long after the evidence ran dry. Once again, no proof had surfaced, just speculation feeding the fire. But one thing was certain: Andrew's downfall had triggered a reckoning that would haunt the monarchy for years to come. And still, through it all, the crown endured, slimmer, tougher, and more self-aware than ever before. Meghan, ever determined and fearless, faced the chaos head-on. Instead of retreating, she took control of the narrative, giving a series of unfiltered interviews that peeled back the curtain on her life with Harry and their family in Montecito. Viewers were treated to rare, tender details, like little Lilibet popping into video calls mid-conversation, or Archie giggling off camera during family chats. Her tone was calm but powerful, filled with quiet confidence. And it worked. Her honesty struck a chord. Within weeks, her approval ratings in the US jumped by 18 points after a summer dip, marking one of the biggest comebacks of her public career. She spoke about transformation, how pressure became purpose, and how she learned to turn pain into power. "I've stopped letting headlines define me," she told one reporter. "I define myself now." Her words went viral instantly. From Hollywood actress to humanitarian powerhouse, Meghan had rewritten her story once again. From her sunlit California estate, she doubled down on her mission, expanding Arch's reach with new projects centered on women's empowerment, digital safety, and media literacy. What could have been another PR nightmare became a redemption arc for the ages. Meghan didn't just survive the chaos, she spun it into strength, influence, and momentum. Meanwhile, across the ocean, the British monarchy stood at its most delicate turning point in decades. Bruised, shaken, yet strangely renewed. This entire saga, packed with bombshell leaks, royal reckonings, and power shifts, had stripped the institution bare, forcing it to evolve or crumble. Gone was the old rigidity of royal rule. In its place stood something leaner, smarter, and built to survive the digital battlefield of the modern world. Inside Buckingham Palace, history's echoes were impossible to ignore. Whispers of Edward VIII's abdication, the Diana years, and now, the post-Epstein fallout that had redefined everything. Yet, King Charles's decisive leadership, matched by William and Catherine's grounded vision, carved a new direction. A monarchy built on strategy instead of tradition, transparency instead of mystery. Still, peace was fleeting. Trouble always lingered. The Epstein files kept trickling out, each new release adding fuel to the global conversation. Fresh U.S. document dumps, spanning investigations from both the Trump and Biden eras, reignited headlines and sent the palace into quiet panic once again. By December's end, the royal family was bracing for yet another reckoning. Could this royal purge, this painful transformation, truly make the crown stronger, or was it reopening old wounds that had never really healed? Around the world, millions watched, dissecting every wave, every speech, every photo op from the House of Windsor like never before. The monarchy's survival now rested on three fragile pillars: transparency, loyalty, and unity. Andrew's explosive words had done more than embarrass the institution. They had cracked open centuries of royal secrecy. Every leaked document, every unnamed source, every whisper from behind palace doors chipped away at the monarchy's mystique. The people were no longer content with pageantry. They wanted truth, accountability, and authenticity from an institution that had long survived on silence. And that left the world asking, where does the responsibility really lie? How does the monarchy move forward without tearing itself apart? Can William and Catherine, now the faces of the new royal era, keep the balance between tradition and transparency? Their calm, polished leadership had carried them through every wave so far, but the next storm could test them like never before. Right now, their influence feels unshakable, the cornerstone of a monarchy fighting to stay relevant in a world that moves faster than ever. Whether you see them as the crowned saviors or just the latest figures in a repeating royal cycle, one thing's for sure, their choices will shape the next century of Britain's royal story. The world is witnessing history unfold in real time, a royal evolution marked by resilience, reinvention, and survival under the harshest spotlight imaginable. The House of Windsor isn't just adapting, it's rewriting its playbook before our eyes. So, what's your take on all this? Were Andrew's bombshells the final spark that forced royal change? Or are we just seeing old royal drama in a brand new disguise? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share your theory, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because this saga of power, loyalty, and legacy is far from over.